Got a 2002 Ford Ranger. This vehicle has a 9007 high and low beam combined on the same bulb. It already has an HID kit on it, but it's a low beam only, so the purpose of this video is to show you how easy it is to convert it to a high-low kit if maybe that's what you did. You know, a lot of these bulbs, they're a high-low beam, but you know, for whatever reason, if you didn't want to spend the money, you got the low beam only, and maybe now you're kind of regretting that. You want to have the high beam capability. So I'm going to go through what you have to do to make that happen. Alright, so doing the conversion is pretty straightforward. Basically all you have to do, like I bought new bulbs from DDM Tuning, and when you do that you get the bulbs. It actually comes with the harness, which is really nice. So you figure the vehicle already has ballast on it, so all we really have to do is install these bulbs and run this harness and we'll have high beam capability. So this is the plug. It's going to control everything, and then these are the bulbs. So you've got your, the connections to light the bulb, and then this other connection here is what's going to control the high beam function. So I'm going to start by getting these, got to pull the headlight assemblies out. It's pretty easy. And get the bulbs in, and then we'll find a nice spot for this harness. The other thing to take into consideration, like I've mentioned in other videos, what I like about the high-low kit is you're getting this harness, so you're getting a direct connection to the battery. So I mean, if you're considering between just the low beam only and the high beam kit, I think for the extra money it's really well worth it, because you're gonna get this harness, and in my opinion it's just that much better to have the harness. So if you're kind of on the fence between just doing a low beam only or going with the high beam, I personally think it's worth it. You're getting your high beams and you're getting the harness, so it's a pretty good deal. Alright, so let's start taking this out. I just got a 1/4 inch drive ratchet with a 5.5 millimeter. We got these 3 bolts to take out. Alright, so you get these 3 out of here. This will lift right off of here. Now, next thing you got to do is there's these clips right here that hold the headlight in place. Just pull up on them. You might have to squirt some penetrating oil on there to loosen them up, but these came off just fine. Alright, so then you just pull it straight forward. Alright, so with this loosened, I'm going to disconnect the bulbs from the ballast, and that should give me the slack to pull the light out. So with like a 9004 and 9007, they've got these lock rings. So counterclockwise, just take this off. The bulb will just pull straight out. Alright, so I've got the new bulb. Keep in mind, always wear gloves, because if you happen to touch this and get the oil from your fingers on it, the bulb can overheat and explode. So anytime you're dealing with a bulb, whether it's halogen or an HID bulb like this, always avoid touching that glass. So now what I'm going to do is install this ring. You see this side's got the openings. That side has to go towards the headlight assembly from the back. So I'm going to run the wiring through here. Bring this back. So push the bulb in until it's flat. Make sure it fits good. Get that lock ring on there. I'm just going to tighten it clockwise until it snaps. So now that's securely in there. Alright, so same thing on the driver's side. Took everything off, popped it out, got the new bulb in there. So bulbs are set. I didn't completely reinstall anything as far as the headlights go. I just kind of pushed it back in there. And do the same thing over here. And then the next thing I gotta do is run this harness. So the harness is gonna send power to the ballast, and it's gonna control the high and low beam. So this has to be wired onto the battery. It's gonna get, we're gonna tap the hot side to power it, and then this is the hot lead. It's fused, which is really nice actually. It's got the little fuse right there. And both sides where it plugs into the ballast, you have to ground it. So that's wired, it's gonna have to be grounded. Same thing for the other side. So like with this kit too, you have only one connection to make as far as your headlight harness is concerned. So like with this old kit, you know, you had your factory harness on the driver's side and on the passenger side. They would both power the ballast individually. So like with this, you're really using your vehicle's factory headlight harness to trigger this harness now. So what's going to happen is I'm going to use the factory headlight harness on the driver's side, but the one on the passenger side is I'm not going to use it. So when I unplug this ballast from the headlight harness on the vehicle, I'm just going to tape up that connection so it stays dry. And we'll get into that after I get this harness on here. Alright, so this is the passenger side. Now, this is the original connection that would go from, this is the headlight harness on the vehicle right here, and this ran over to power the ballast. It's right here. So like I said, this harness is going to run over here now, and this is going to power the ballast. Okay, so that means that this plug on the passenger side is not going to be used at all. So I have to take this off of here, and I'm just going to wrap this connector with tape to keep it dry. So on this side, I'm going to use this factory harness. This factory plug is what's going to power up this new high-low harness. So I'm going to take this off of here, and then we have to wire the plug for the harness. I'll show you how to do that. Alright, so I got the harness, the old harness off of there. I'm going to wrap this up now. Alright, so that's just going to get tucked down there. We don't need that anymore. Alright, so I'm starting to lay the harness in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some two-phase tape on the back of this. There's like a little plastic sheeting on here. So pull that off. And I ran the hot lead through the core support. There's a little harness down here that I can zip tie the fuse onto. You can see that. And then just going to run the hot lead up to the positive terminal on the battery. So to mount this with two-phase tape too, this has to be a clean mounting surface, so I'm just going to use some glass cleaner and a paper towel, get that nice and clean. Put the two-phase tape on here. Probably clean this too, just to make sure that's all nice and clean so it'll adhere. Just got glass cleaner. Let's get all that doo-doo sauce off of there. Alright, so I got the two-phase tape on there. Now while it's still got the cover on the other side, now's the time to push it down really hard and make sure it's adhering. So I'm going to pull these pieces off and stick it on there. Alright, so the next order of business is we got to wire up this plug. Now the reason this does not come pre-wired is because the 9004 and the 9007 are pretty identical. However, they are wired differently. So looking at the back of the plug, you've got power all the way on the right side, ground is in the center, and the high beam is all the way on the left from the back side of this plug. So with this wiring, this white wire is going to be power, the brown wire is ground, and the blue wire is going to be for the high beam. So we have to put those into the corresponding terminal slots. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and wire this up. Now, probably won't be able to see this on the camera, but there's little notches on one side of this blade, and there's little notches in here. So you want those to match up, and you really want to be careful. I mean, this stuff is kind of brittle. So what I'll do is just kind of get them started. Get them all in there. And then to me, one of the best ways to do this is just get some needle nose pliers. Okay, I got these little vice grips. And I'll just pull it in there with the vice grips. You know, be careful, like take your time, just don't get crazy because it's not hard to damage these things. Alright, want to make sure you got really nice snug fit on this. And there we go. So now this is ready to be plugged into the factory headlight harness on the driver's side. So like I said before, you know, that factory harness is really just being used to control this new harness now. So that factory plug is what's gonna basically energize the relay and send power to this new harness. Alright, the other thing I want to mention is if you're doing a 9004, you need to swap these two. So if this was 9004, it would be blue, white for power in the center, and brown would be ground on the far right hand side of the plug from the back. So the 9007 is blue, brown, white, and with the 9004 you would swap the ground and the power, so it would be blue, white, brown. Alright, so a perfect example of the 9004 bulb, that's what the Mustang uses, my 1990 GT. So getting in here and looking at the plug, you got blue, white, and brown from left to right. Alright, so I got that plug wired up. It's plugged into the driver's side factory headlight harness. Got the ballast connected to the bulbs. Made the harness connection to power the ballast. Now, don't forget these have polarity. So you got plus and minus. You know, plus power side, minus is the ground side. No, I'll have to mount the ground, but I got the harness in here. It's kind of loose for right now. Gonna zip tie it to this hood pop cable, hood release cable, and bring it around this side. Got the harness pretty much laid out here. the power lead. Got my zip ties started here. It's the fuses in there, right here. So I got the ballast and the bulbs all wired up. It's the high beam controller right there. It's all plugged in. Harness is plugged into the vehicle harness. So basically all I really have left is to finish zip tying the harness in, and I have to ground the ballast. Okay, so I'm thinking about grounding them here to the latch assembly. So I got the bolt out this side, sanded it, cleaned it up with some wax and grease remover, sanded it with some 180. I'm going to put a little bit of white lithium grease on there and put the ground wire on there and run the bolt back in. And I'll do that on this side as well. Go through, finish up this wiring, and snip all the ends off of these zip ties. Alright, so just took that piece of 180. Do one side at a time because you don't want this latch to get messed up. So I already did this side. So I took the bolt out, sanded it with 180. Got some nice bare metal going on. Try to get bare metal going to the end here. Put some white lithium grease on there and slid this ground wire over the bolt and ran the bolt back in. So I'm doing the same thing on this side. So I got the bare metal. Try to concentrate on the side where the wire is going to be touching it. So when this goes on here, it's going to be touching the bare metal like that. So before you go to sand this, be sure to clean it, because if you don't clean it off, you're just going to clog up the sandpaper and it's going to be really irritating. So clean it off really nice, hit it with the sandpaper, clean it off again, get it all nice and cleaned up, get the lithium grease on there and run that bolt back in. And so like I said, grab your white lithium grease, get a good blob on there. Alright, so I'm ready to run the bolt in. Now you notice how this has a flat side to it. Okay, so that flat side is going to go towards the back of the car. Put it on there like that. I want that flat side going up against this. Alright, got the grounds finished up. So, moment of truth, see if it fires up. And they're both working, so that's good. Let's try to high beam. Alright, got the high beams working. So everything's cool, ready to finish this up. Alright, so it's all finished up. Got the harness zip tied out of the way. Everything's working. Got access to that fuse. This is a 8mm, by the way, for these battery terminals. So I'm gonna leave these covers off because one of the last things you gotta do is check the aim, make sure they're aim right, so you're not blinding people. Definitely want to double check that. But you know, the other thing too, I think a really important part about installing the HID kit is aiming the headlights. I mean, gives you a much better beam pattern and prevents blinding people. The other thing I'm going to do too is just kind of clean up the lenses. Going to use some Meguiar's Ultimate Compound. Stuff works really good for that. So probably rub them up by hand. I mean, you can use a microfiber towel or paper towel, whatever. Some people get upset that you use paper towels, but there's plenty of paper towels out there that don't really scratch anything. So if you want to use paper towel, use paper towel. and I'll probably spray wax them after I hit it with the ultimate compound. So gonna rub these up, get them cleaned up, spray wax them, and check the aim on these. One more little thing that might help out. Got the adjusters here, so I'll just take some penetrating oil, get in there on the adjuster, put a little squirt on there. Should help make the adjusting go a little bit easier. Go ahead and do both sides. Alright, so I got paper towel, ultimate compound. Shake this stuff up. Look how nasty that is. Might have to do it a few times. The stuff works pretty good. You can use a buffer, but it actually works really well by hand. Especially with a headlight assembly like this, it has these little alignment nipples on there. It's kind of difficult to buff these unless you got a mini buffer. But yeah, pretty nasty. So I'll do that a few times until get all the gunk off of there, and go ahead and check the aim on them. Alright, so I'll finish this up. It's got a microfiber towel. You could use whatever, you know, Meguiar's spray wax. I got this Widow wax I'm gonna put on there. You shake it up. Alright, so checking the aim. Looks like the driver's side's a little low. So just come to the adjuster. You want to go counterclockwise, loosen it. I prefer to have the driver's side actually a little bit lower than the passenger side, so I think that'll be good. Take it for a drive and see how the beam pattern looks.